Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call this meeting to order. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance. Is this recording? Yeah. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to the Executive Council meeting tonight, folks. We're going to start off with introductions around the room. So we're going to start with, we're going to review the minutes from the previous Executive Council meeting held March 28th of 24. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes from last year?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, these meeting minutes have been approved. Moving on to review, discussion and highlights of the annual reports. We're going to go around the room, the committee chairs. The Aquatics Committee Chair, Gary. Give me your report.
Huh?
Yep. A starts it.
A starts.
I'm sorry. Let's do introductions around the room for folks that don't know each other. I'm your president, Stu Lackernick. This is
Doug Parks, I chair Budget and Finance.
Donna McElroy, Marine Activity Advisory Committee.
Rob Kiesling, Strategic Planning. Gary Miller, Aquatics.
Linda Yoshi, Communications.
Mike DeLello, ARC.
Pat Garcia, Environment and Natural Resources.
Frank Brown, Golf.
Becky Leonard, Rec and Park.
Okay, welcome, folks. We're going to start with discussion highlights.
There's still some.
You should have, Election Committee.
Oh, I'm sorry. Election Committee.
Steve Ranstel.
Hey, Stephen. Sorry about that.
No troubles.
Anybody else that's a committee chair that's online? Okay, it was just Steve. Okay, so we're going to go into the discussion and highlights of the annual reports of each of the chairs. I'm going to start at the top of the alphabet with A for Aquatics. Gary.
Okay. The first thing I want to go over is that the Aquatics Committee is especially interested in safety issues. And we've got a number of comments from the pool members and people that just like to go to the pools. And two of the major complaints have been at Swim and Racket, where you've got one rather narrow set of steps that go down into the pool. And these are portable steps. And the complaint is from the more senior people that go to that pool that have trouble getting in and out of the pool because there's kids that constantly hang on those steps. That pool is not a shallow pool. It's not really conducive to little kids, but that's where a lot of them go. So they tend to hang around those steps because they can't stand up in that pool. So we've been talking about this for a while. And this is the third or fourth year we brought this up. Basically, we've been told that there isn't anything that could be done. Apparently, the lifeguards are supposed to be keeping the kids off the ladder. That doesn't always work because you've got parents that are badgering the lifeguards. So this is still an ongoing issue. We had suggested possibly getting a second set of steps, but nothing to date has been done. The other major issue has been the steps on the ladders at both the yacht club and at Swim and Racket. The steps are metal and they're very slippery. So it's difficult for, again, the senior members of the community to get up and down those steps. This is the third year we mentioned that, and Linda Martin was kind enough to tell me to contact Nobi at Public Works. And I called him 3 times. He finally got back to me. We talked about what the issue was. The committee had suggested that maybe plastic steps or something else might be appropriate to keep it from being slippery.
Didn't they put a tape on them?
I'm getting to that. Yes, last year they said that they're going to put a non-slip tape on the steps. When they tried to do that last year, they did it over a weekend. They pulled one of the ladders out, they put the tape on it, but apparently the tape has a certain curing time, and it takes more than just 2 days for it to cure properly. So the tape didn't work. And I mentioned that to Noby, and he said, yeah, we know, we're looking at some other things. And Noby's concern is that because it's a commercial pool, they have to use commercial ladders, which I totally understand. But again, I've contacted Noby 3 times since I first talked to him, asking about, now, have you gotten any additional information? Is anything going on? And I haven't heard back from him yet.
Well, I know that the pool is not open yet, so the steps are dry. So I'm going to check and see if that has been done, because they would have had plenty of time to cure at this point.
Well, that's what we had hoped. Noby was talking about possibly getting different types of ladders.
I'll check on that.
Okay. The similar issue is at Mumford's Landing. We've got very narrow cement steps that go into the shallow area. Again, the kids hang out there, so it's now a little dicey for the seniors to get in that way. The ladders along the other side of the pool, deeper end, the steps are actually built into the wall of the pool. And what you've actually got is a handrail that comes down. Unless you've got a lot of upper body strength, it's very difficult to get up those steps because of the angle of the handrail and the fact that the steps are there in the wall. It's just very difficult. So we had suggested, and actually, if you go back to when Kathleen was still here, she had said, we'll just replace the handrails with traditional ladders. And that was never done. We still haven't gotten any response as far as replacing the handrails with an actual ladder.
Have you sent a charging document?
Yes.
I haven't seen it.
We did that 2 years ago.
Well,
We did it last year.
do me a favor. With the swimming racket steps that you say are where the kids are hanging on them,
Yep.
What is the committee's remedy for that? They're not going to get another
No.
set of steps.
We're not sure what the remedy is.
Okay, so moving on. So the yacht club and the swim racket non-skid tape.
Either non-skid tape or new ladders.
Okay, and Mumford's similar issue.
Ending, again, you take out the handrails and you put in actual ladders.
Okay. Send me that charging document, and I'll send that up the line, and I'll follow up on it. Right.
Okay. We've also, over the last 3 years, suggested that we reinstate the evening class, water aerobics class at Mumford's Landing, because during the summer, a lot of people don't want to be in the indoor pool because it's very warm, even with the skylights open. It's just not very comfortable in there to do the water aerobics. In the past, prior to COVID, there were classes held at Mumford's Landing at 6 o'clock after the pool closed. And there was a fee charged to cover the instructor, to cover the lifeguard. We've been asking for that to be reinstated, and actually in the survey that went out, there's been a lot of people that were asking that to come back. In this last the activities book that came out, that class has been reinstated, which is great, but there's no instructor. And without an instructor, you've got a lot of people that aren't going to come because they don't know what they're going to be doing. If you charged the same fee that is charged for other classes, you'd have enough money to cover the instructor and the lifeguard and probably still make money for aquatics. Part of the idea of reinstating that class was you get a lot of people that are visiting the area, and if they could do a drop-in, they'd get to learn more about the classes of the that aquatics offers, and you make more money. So everybody that saw that the class was reinstated was very happy, but we're concerned that without an instructor, you're not going to have a lot of people showing up. So that's another issue.
Is that one time a week? I'm sorry, Gary. Can I ask you?
You're good. Good.
It was going to be 1 or 2 times a week. It wasn't going to be every day. It was going to be, like Tuesday and Thursday or Monday and Wednesday. That's what it was in the past. And it was very well attended in the past. You'd have 20 people there. So again, if you charged a fee, you'd be able to pay for it. Now, the fee that's listed in the activities guide, you've got $48 for pool members, $60 for OP residents, and $77 for non-residents. That's with no instructor.
Well,
Especially considering that there's an instructor available for this class that was very popular with pupils in the past.
no, Gary, I'll be honest with you. That's an operational issue that's handled by the department head and our senior management. This is not, if it's listed on there and they sell enough of them, they'll get an instructor. This is an operational issue.
Okay, well, that's another issue that I wanted to bring up. Every time we get into making a recommendation on something that is being taught to us by a lot of people that are pool members, and we bring it to the board, oh, that's an operational system. And I understand that, but still, the board has the ability to talk to operations and say, it might be better if you tried it this way.
Well, if they reinstated the class, they sell enough of them, I'll guarantee you they'll get an instructor.
Yeah, but they may not sell enough of them because they don't have an instructor.
Is it listed in the activities guide?
It is listed.
So people would call to register for this class.
Yes, but
Okay.
it's also listed that there's no instructor.
At the time of the printing of the activities guide.
Yeah.
Okay. So you see that the operations is open for the classes to resume pending enrollment. And then I'm sure they'll find an instructor if they have enough enrollment.
I hope you're right,
Well,
because that hasn't happened.
like I said, send me a charging document on the swim and racket steps and your solution to that, the yacht club and swim racket non-skid tape with the Mumford's Landing remedy. And I'll forward that on to ops, and then we'll get that worked on.
Okay.
Okay, I see. I'm sorry. Laura, is that you out there, honey? Okay, I didn't see you on there. I just want to make sure everybody knows Laura Congrats from Bylaws Committee's here now. Hope you're feeling better there.
Hope you're feeling better.
There's also been a number of complaints about the bathrooms, especially at Swim and Racket. and there's no handrails, safety handrails in the bathrooms. There's none in the toilets, and there's none in the showers. So that was a concern. Now, when we pointed this out previously, John Viola had said that they would be addressed over the winter. Of course, you can't get in right now, so I'm hoping they've all been addressed.
Put that in your charging document that you'll send to me. I'll send to your liaison that sends it to me. And this way, we're alerted to it and we can follow it.
Okay. We also, over the past year, had altered our proposal for a Sunsets and Cocktails event at the Yacht Club. And 2 years ago, we had said it was going to be an adult activity. The attorney has said you can't do an adult-only activity, so we redid it and said it would be open to everybody, just like Family Fun Night on Wednesdays. Apparently, the attorney initially said he still didn't think it would be legal. But when we asked about it, he came to one of our meetings and he asked questions. We talked to him. We explained how everything was going to work. And he changed his mind. He said, yes, that would work. The board decided, for whatever reasons, that they were not going to promote the event. So that's still something that we're being asked about.
Okay.
For whatever reason, the board has decided we're not going to do it. Last thing, well, second to last thing, for marketing, the Aquatics Committee was the one that started the idea for the Ocean Pines season kickoff event. Initially, it was the idea that after COVID, we wanted to bring everybody back into the fold, make them aware of all the pools that were available and all the classes and everything else that makes the aquatics department really great. As we moved on, we kind of decided, well, we could do that for the whole community. So last year we had the first Ocean Pines season kickoff. Most of the amenities were involved. A lot of the advisory committees were involved. We had all sorts of local clubs and organizations and small businesses. We had close to 1,000 attendees come to the event. It was at White Horse Park. It was right after the farmers market. It was a little hectic. This year it's been moved to the Veterans Memorial Park. We changed the time to 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're really pushing to get all of the people that participated last year to again participate. We've also got a lot of new businesses and organizations that are coming in, but we still haven't heard from all of the amenity people. So I would ask all of the club members that are here and anybody involved with any of the amenities to please make sure that you register for this.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, Don.
Did you send something specifically out to each of us? Okay. And did you ask us to respond?
I sent everybody a form. I was on it last year, and anybody who was a new committee chair since then, I sent multiple times. I've sent it.
Yeah,
I've heard from a couple of
multiple
committees.
emails.
I'm sure, and I hate to be a pest about it.
Okay, I just want to be
Just to
certain.
remind people, the event is May 17th. Though Gary didn't.
Right.
Yeah, but
Linda's the co-chair for that
yes,
committee.
did.
And it's going to be held Saturday, May 17th,
Mhm.
11 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Even though that wasn't aquatics, I'll allow that announcement.
Well, it started out in aquatics. That's why I kind of pushed it. Last thing I just want to mention briefly is the survey results that strategic planning did. There were a number of comments, unsolicited, but just comments about aquatics department and things that people really wanted to see. One was the evening classes. One is you've got a lot of people that are still working full time,
Yeah.
and they would like to be able to get to a pool in the evening. So one of the other things that we put in the charging document was the idea that we want to have one pool open at least 2 days a week after normal hours. So that it would go, instead of closing at 6, maybe go to 8 o'clock. So that those people that work have an opportunity to enjoy the pools instead of just on the weekends. That would also probably bring in more pool memberships, which is going to increase the funding that comes into aquatics.
Okay. Well, thank you, Gary. We're going to move further to architectural review. And let's have your annual report.
Okay. My name is Mike Colello, and in history, we lost a chair and a co-chair December 2024 and co-chair 25 of January. Since then, Gary Murray and I have stepped up to be both co-chairs, and Gary's with us on the screen here. Meanwhile, since then, we have recruited 3 members to be part of the ARC committee, and they are now active. So we're at full boat right now, listening to hearings. So let me, this is my first time doing this meeting, and I'm observing how different styles, and this, that, and the other thing. One thing that interests me are 2 things. The longest pays for drinks, is what I heard. And
So far, Gary, you've got it.
did I get that credit card out? And Maryland's tip off is at 7:31. I guess. So the Architectural Review Committee is in the process of reviewing right now architectural guidelines addressing areas such as streamlining the permit submittal sequence process. 2, addressing the soft spots in the existing guidelines. 3, considering monitoring fencing materials for the board to review and approve. In the past 4 months of my experience, it has been a concentration of fencing. And it seems that that's pretty prevalent in the community right now. So that's why that's top of the list. We continue conducting variance and extended hearings based on a declaration of restrictions, architectural review guidelines, homeowner hardships, and common sense. The ARC committee has continued to fulfill the duty of assisting CPI with permit evaluations and approvals as required for issuance. Specific emphasis in place upon full review of the permit application, meeting requirements from sub-associations, master Ocean Pines architectural guidelines, and declaration of restrictions. Also, consideration is given to the review of federal, state, and Worcester County requirements as well. A lot of times plans are coming in. I've been in a builder for 43 years. And when you look at these plans, sometimes they're rushing road, to be honest with you. So we'll add comments to it that would, conveniently coincide with our architectural guidelines. Our current challenges. One of the issues that continue to be problematic with the Ocean Pines property owners is submitting a current as-built survey when applying for a variance or an exception. The cost for an as-built survey from a licensed survey varies from $350 to $1,000. This is based on a surveying company who performed the original property survey. All he has to do is just verify site conditions. He already has baseline information in his computer. The problem is that when somebody calls another surveying company cold, they have to develop baseline information plus 2 trips out to the field. So naturally, that's a difference between $350 and $1,000. So I guess the big beef with the homeowners is $1,000.
Yeah.
And proposed solution. Come to the table with a solution. The purpose of having a fairly recent survey, when applying for property improvements, variances, or exceptions, it makes the processing more efficient, accurate, and reduces the need for field verification. And the field verification, I'm going to try and CPI, that's labor.
And
There's 8,000 homes and 2 inspectors. So all new building additions and/or conversions that include a roof system, patio, deck, outdoor kitchens, fences, outbuildings, driveways, pools, docks, landscaping, hardscaping, wetlands, easements, setbacks, all require a final as-built survey upon work being completed and submitted to CPI for final inspection. Therefore, it makes sense to require a current as-built survey submitted with the permit application. This saves a lot of time. They're going to be spending the dollars anyway. Spend it up front. This helps us. In addition, the committee is going to recommend for the seller of a resale property to provide an as-built survey as a requirement. This will expose any existing violations for the seller or buyer to rectify before the sale takes place and eliminates hidden violations for the buyer.
Doesn't that already exist, Michael?
Negative.
that's not disclosed at closing?
It is.
Isn't that part of the packet when they disclose? It's supposed to be.
Wait a minute. People are misinformed. Okay. A as-built, I give you a piece of paper that says as-built. That satisfies everybody here in the room. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a accurate, current as-built. What happens is this. I have a house for 25 years. I made changes. Right? You come along, buy my house. I give you a 1986 survey that says as-built on it, and you walk away happy. Now you want to do something. So you come to CPI, and CPI finds out you got 15 violations.
Are you seeing that?
Yes.
Because I know that the house across the street from me, at the closing table, they knew they had some violations with their dock built into the bulkhead that was wrong and had to be taken care of. They bought it with that understanding and fixed it.
Okay. They caught it. That was caught. Let me tell you what isn't being caught.
I know my son just bought a house and he went before your committee because the sellers said this and you guys were like, oh no.
Yeah.
We didn't want to hear that about the fence.
You know, I've talked to realtors
Okay.
about this. Obviously, you know, they're up and all, you know, this one individual, I didn't speak to many of them. Was up in arms about it. But I gotta be honest with you, I bought probably in my lifetime about 5 properties, and I've always requested for an as-built by the seller. So the seller would finance or get the as-built. Why would you buy a property? You don't even know where your easements are. You don't know where your encroachments are. You don't know, you got to know this stuff. So to me, it's like ABC.
That's coming from a builder.
Yeah.
I was going to say, as a buyer,
I bought a half a dozen houses myself. I've never asked for an as-built on any of the properties. Because it comes-
I wish they had it afterward because
Yeah,
they
That was just part of what you get when you're buying a
Yeah.
I did too.
It's outdated. It's not updated. That's what's wrong.
So what's your recommended fix?
So my recommended fix is
What's the fix?
the seller at the time of selling his property. It's a requirement for Ocean Plumbings to have them submit a up-to-date as-built.
Okay.
Mike, are any of your notes there in this, or they new? Because I don't see,
Yes, I'm trying to follow.
I'm trying to follow along and I don't see it.
But that might have been like version 1.
No,
Okay,
Okay, because I don't have version 2.
yeah, we didn't have that information. And
Maybe pay attention to them.
you have more members on the committee than are posted here, right? For example, Phil Grillo is on your committee now or not?
Yeah, we're at 5.
So, okay, so he's not listed here either.
Yes, he is.
This is last year's October of
Oh,
it came out. He submitted October 24.
Last year.
and 6 months or more since we.
Oh, you know what? You don't know the up-to-date.
No,
but that wasn't on the last year's report, what he's
I
talking
stick this in.
it's okay.
about. A lot went in and
I have 5 people, and I'm sure I can send everybody.
That's okay. Is it Kevin, Susan, Gary, Michael, and Phil?
Yes,
All right, thank you very much.
and Jason.
Oh, so we,
Michael, Gary, Ken, Phil, and Jason.
I don't have that.
Here you go.
Thank you so much.
But I need that back.
Yeah, you wait and see.
So, who's your liaison? Elaine?
Lane.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you're on this?
Absolutely. It happens in almost every other meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Gabby, he's spot on. If they're not in the resale packet,
Gotcha.
a new homeowner is surprised by what they never noticed on the front. They purchased it.
We just listened to a case where somebody came in with a 1986 as-built. All right. So it didn't show the shed, didn't show the walkway, didn't show the patio. It's like, how could you make informed decisions when you don't have enough information?
Okay.
So I'm waiting for because I'm not going to pay for everybody's drink.
I was waiting for the time to tip down.
Said he's finished.
Yeah, Gary.
I got more, but
Here, I'm very sorry.
that's okay. We're going halves.
Anybody have any questions for?
I always have questions.
I'm not done yet.
Okay. Sorry.
You're going to be behind. About 20 minutes.
The 22 minutes is Gary.
All right. Also, the permit application sequence for the new construction variants and exceptions have been frustrating for some homeowners based on feedback with misunderstandings between review agencies. The majority of homeowners presently submit permit applications to the sub-associations first. Then they go to the county. And lastly, CPI. The Ocean Pines Declaration of Restrictions, ARC guidelines, sub-association architectural guidelines are more restrictive than the county's zoning lot requirements. So, proposal, solution. ARC committee will be recommending to change the permit application sequence by submitting permit application to their sub-association first, then the CPI, and lastly, the county. This recommendation will reduce the confusion and frustration for the homeowners by starting with the more architectural restrictive requirements of Ocean Pines before the county's IBC 2023 code review. All final permits will be submitted to CPI with a final as-built survey upon completion for final CPI inspection. 3. When ARC reviews permit applications for new construction variances and exceptions for homeowners belonging to a sub-association in Ocean Pines, it is then necessary for the ARC member to refer to the specific sub-association's current architectural guidelines posted on the website to ensure compliance, which may not have the most current revisions. Solution: it would be the responsibility of each Ocean Pines sub-association president to update the Ocean Pines DR website with the most current architectural guidelines with a revision date to submit to Linda Martin so the website can be updated. Colonial Village Association recently sent theirs, the revised architectural guidelines for sections 18E and S. The remaining 4 associations in Ocean Pines that need to confirm that their most current architectural guidelines are posted on the website are the Links, Turns Landing, the Park, the Point Reach. Okay, last one, right?
No.
Okay, as the ARC committee continues to serve and assess the current ARC guidelines, we will be asking the board directors for their review and approval of our recommendations at the end of May 25. Our goal is to improve community guidelines, protect property values, and consider homeowner hardships. Observations for the next OPA budget. As an architectural review committee volunteer serving the Ocean Pines Board of Directors, there are areas within CPI that would indicate a shortage of staff compared to task at hand. I personally visit each property and take photos before the homeowner hearing date. I find many violations that can't possibly be inspected with the present CPI staff. In addition, we lost the presence of Josh Vickers from CPI attending our homeowner hearings. His absence has left a void with regard to historical background, additional violations, and being familiar with the DR and guidelines for input. So here's our report card. We have listened to a total of 48 cases since October of 24. We approved 19. We disapproved 22. And we told 7 of them to go back and bring back more information, which they did not.
And
So we're running on an approval rating of about 40%, disapproval 45%, 14%'s lost.
and
That's it.
and
I was shorter than them.
Maybe. Question.
Yeah, Gary.
and
You had suggested that the seller provide the up-to-date, I think what term you use, the
As well.
as-built. Why doesn't the buyer just request that and pay?
That's a good question. I'll tell you why. Because if I was the seller and I came up with the updated as-built,
Right?
basically what I'm saying is these are my violations. Now it's
And-
between him and the buyer to negotiate.
and
Now,
and
if the seller wants to pay for it, let him pay for it. I mean, that's all. That's on the realtor.
Okay.
and
I'm just coming from the point that we just need good information because we don't have the ability to hire 10 inspectors.
Right. Well, I understand that. It's just, I wasn't sure whether it was the seller or the buyer that should be paying for the most up-to-date one. Thank you.
Okay.
And one quick question. I'm not trying
Okay.
to stretch out as,
So go ahead. Go ahead.
Mike, you indicated that before meetings, you ride around the community and look for violations.
Well, what I do is if I have a here, I'll usually 2 to 3 every meeting. I'll go to those 2 or 3 properties, knock on the front door and ask permission and explain to them why I'm here. Can I take pictures of the property that you're going to be asking for a variance or an exception Monday? And they give me permission. I go on the property, I take pictures, and then I disseminate that to the whole committee so that when we come in to meet, we have the information.
So hypothetically, if I would send a message to info at OPA, Ocean Pines, whatever it is, and suggest that I believe there's a violation at such and such an address, are you saying to me that you're the person that might go out and look at that?
No, that's CPI.
He's referring to
We're talking about
building.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And to clarify that point, it's not the responsibility of the volunteer of ARC to be reporting.
No, you're right. That's
Okay,
right.
and
I
we
didn't
don't.
understand what you meant.
And we don't. It's just that what my eyes see,
Mhm.
I can report
and
closed doors in here. That's all.
and
And, we communicate with CPI too. But I gotta be honest with you, there's a lot of violations. That there are, but you don't want to come across like, the police, but
I would appreciate it if you did.
well, that's, yeah, Elaine.
I think I can answer some of that because being involved in it for a while and so is the difference between a CPI inspector and Mitsubishi actually is welcomed onto their program. Our CPI really can only see violations from the roadway. They're not allowed to go on the property and peek behind the doors, the backyards, whatever. So a lot of that comes from neighbors. It has to because they're not allowed to walk on your property to see if you have a violation. They can only do it if it's reported by a neighbor, or
And-
they can see it from the roadway. And that's really the kind of the difference there. So Michael's allowed to walk around somebody's property. Josh Dickerson's a monster.
Right. It's 2 different departments. Yeah.
Exactly.
2 different situations.
That's where influencing violations helps. I mean, you hope that neighbors will do something about it. You can what's like people do or
I got you.
crashing urines.
Michael, I'd
And-
really be interested if you wanted to email copy this to me, if you could do that.
Sure.
And I don't know if anyone else here, that was interesting
You can have that.
information. I can have this.
Yeah, because I'm done.
Yeah.
under the wire, Gary's still in the house. We're going to move on to budget and finance. Doug?
And my report is going to
pale in comparison with regard to longevity and interactivity. Those of you who are interested in all of the sort of details of the budget and finance annual report can refer to the report that's been included in your packet there. I just wanted to highlight a couple of things from our duty and responsibilities last year. As always, we go through the monthly financial reports and review all the reports that are provided to us from the finance team. As per our requirements, as a committee, we've provided the annual budget guidance to the board and to the GM for the previous fiscal year. And we also, as we do every year, complete a review of the proposed budget as part of the budget preparation process, and that happens in January. So the committee looks at that and makes any recommendations they do. The only other noteworthy thing that happened last year was we were asked by the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee to relook at the C03, which defines the duties of the committee, and decided that there was nothing that needed to be changed. Currently, one other thing I want to mention too, with regard to in June 2024, we met with the Ocean Pines Volunteer Fire Department. We had noted that for the MOU, the old MOU, they were supposed to be making contributions to the reserve fund, the apparatus reserve schedule, and they had not made those. And I stepped in and said, you guys really can't, you're far behind on this. And so they went from making an annual contribution to making the monthly contributions, because by doing that, it allowed the interest to grow at a better rate. So they made that change, and it also was the precursor to making the change that the board approved this past year. It used to be with the old MOU was 50-50 contribution. Now it's changed to the OPA puts it 75%, and the volunteer fire department puts in 25%. And again, just for those who know, the replacement apparatus schedule is, they're looking at depreciation of equipment over time and what it would cost to replace that. So they're trying to keep continuing to fund that, so that the pumper, matter of fact, one example, a pumper that was $300,000 probably 18, 20 years ago is now 1.2 million. So,
Wow.
There's a big difference. And so keeping an eye on that. And that's one of the impetus to moving from a 50-50 contribution to a 75-25. Currently, we're doing the same things. We do the monthly review of the financial reports. We again met our requirement to provide budget guidance to the board. And one of the items in budget guidance this year was a suggestion that if the Gulf irrigation project is moving forward and is either on schedule or ahead of schedule, we advise the board to go ahead and release the funding from the reserves, because at that point, you've got the labor rate locked in, you've got the materials cost locked in, rather than waiting 6 to 8 months where those costs could have changed. So one of the things we said, we highly recommended the board consider that if asked. So if that opportunity presents itself, we think it would be prudent, since the money is in the reserve fund, to move forward as quickly as possible, and again, protect those labor rates and those material costs. And lastly, with the advent of the Touch of Italy taking over, the financial reports that we're going to be reviewing are much less involved. We won't get the detailed, and we don't need them. The kinds of things that are happening right now, we're just going to look at overall general, monthly, supplement. That's it. And so it kind of lessens the requirements for the committee to look at this kind of stuff. So other than that, if you've got any questions, I'm available. Again, any other detailed information, you can refer to the report. I'm done. I win the prize for shortest.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah, you got.
I'm having talking.
I have
no
questions.
Like a farm. Anybody have any questions for Sir Doug?
I have no question.
Guarantee you, I'll be last.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're gonna move on to bylaws and resolutions. Laura? You have your report?
All right. Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to be virtual. I am 4 weeks out from having a kidney transplant. So, yay. But I can't be around a whole lot of people, and I'm at my other house closer to Baltimore, where all of the multiple doctor's visits are. So once they calm down and I can, go once a month, then I'll be back in Ocean Pines. So, just as an FYI, the bylaws committee, like our April meeting, well, we did it for March too, but April will be virtual only, because we've typically always had a hybrid meeting. So I just wanted to give you that update. Basically, our report, I shared all of all of our current committee members. During this reporting time, we had a committee member, Pam, who resigned in May of 2024. So, but then we added Camilla and Joe. So we are at our 5 as well. Steve is still our liaison. The our job is just to keep up to date, looking at the different resolutions and everything, making sure they're reviewed in a timely manner. We have a governance document tracker form that we now, after every meeting, or most meetings, we send it to the board just so that they are aware what resolutions are coming due. We did not encounter any problems this year.
And
When there is a cost to something the committee is involved in, we are part of a larger effort and not the sole cost driver. So the committee continues to recommend the use of virtual meeting platforms and would encourage it to still be utilized and included in the budget as a beneficial expense, because some of our committee members are part-timers, don't live here full-time yet. As always, we definitely continue to ask for consideration for additional legal review funding for the bylaws and resolutions updates when they occur. Let's see. So basically, we continue with our regular review of the 32 active resolutions. Of the active resolutions, 22 are the responsibility of the board, of which 20 are past due for a variety of reasons, but not limited and including the delay related to legal review. Review of the new bylaws to see if there are any amendments that affect resolutions. For example, like M09, the search committee has been previously identified as a resolution affected by the bylaws amendments. That's been addressed since this report was done. And to provide visibility to the board liaisons and the committee chairs on the status of past due resolutions, the committee will continue to include copy of the updated governance tracking form with our approved minutes on the website. So if you go to our committee and look at our agendas are there, our approved minutes are there. If you go past the minutes, you'll see the governance form as well. And I believe that is basically it. Trying to think. My brain's a little mushy with all of the stuff I've been going through. So I apologize for that. If my liaison, if there was a folder for me, if you can just hold on to it until I'm back in town, that would be wonderful. I did want to share, we were just notified in the last day or two that a long-term committee member, past committee chairperson of the bylaws committee has passed away, and that was Mr. Jim Trummel. And he was such a blessing to this committee. He's so smart. He could pull the names and numbers of all of the resolutions, which I can't do yet, but he knew everything. And it's a great loss for Ocean Pines. But he was, even when he didn't want to be the chairperson anymore and I took over, he would still join our meetings virtually whenever he could. So I just wanted to share that we have lost a very special person to the bylaws committee, and he is going to be greatly missed now moving forward. So does anyone have any questions for me?
I have a comment on the subject of Jim Trummel.
Mm-hmm.
I may be the only one here that has watched every single bylaws and resolutions video. And Jim taught me everything I know about our bylaws and how our governing documents work. And yeah, he is a huge loss. He was an amazing reference. And yeah, that's a tough one. Doug?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo the same thing about the Jim Trumbull when I was chair of the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee. He was my mentor. So it's important to understand that wealth of knowledge that was there and that Jim readily provided to everybody.
Yeah.
The second thing is I just want to point out to the rest of the chairs that the Budget and Finance Committee was asked to review resolutions F0, 1, 2, and 3. And the important point is we do it, but we do it in conjunction with the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee. So we work together, to kind of pass back and forth. And I just plant in your minds that that's something to promote. In other words, there's nothing that says we as committee chairs can't interact with one another. No, we're talking about a specific area, but out of, I call it professional courtesy, is any kind of discussion that might have an impact on the resolution, push it to the budget, to the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee, because they're very easy to work with. They're very prompt about a response, and we work together very seamlessly to get that done. So I just want to encourage anybody, if you have the opportunity to look at a resolution that may affect your committee, please include the Bylaws and Resolutions Committee.
We have a robust committee system with a bunch of people that care. And I like the fact that we all participate together and freely share and collaborate. Anybody have anything for Laura or any questions?
No, thank you, Laura.
Feel better.
Yeah, better, sweetie.
Thank you. I'm trying. Another couple of weeks and hopefully I'll be back.
Just as a comment, Laura, you came in under wire and you are not on the hook for drinks later. So we're going to move forward.
Well, I'm impressed, Stuart. I'm impressed that you have watched every one. I used to always joke that if you had insomnia, the way to solve that was to watch the bylaws committee's meetings, because they can be kind of long and, might help you go to sleep. So, I'm proud of you.
We're going to move forward to Linda and the Communications Committee.
Great.
Thank you, Linda. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm done. I'm better. I will be brief. Now, a couple of quick things. The Communications Committee is in pretty good shape. We do have one opening on our committee. So if you know somebody who would be a good fit, we would love to talk with them about joining us. Our big initiatives from this year, as Gary mentioned, the season kickoff has now become sort of a subcommittee of communications, although Gary and I continue to co-chair that event, and Gary is the beast doing the work on it. But that is something that the Communications Committee is strongly behind and working on. And I really encourage you all to, if you have a business, sign up for your business to be there. If you're part of a club, sign up to club. We want all the amenities and the different committees to be represented, but you also represent a lot of other, your church, your business, your club that you belong to. Bring them into this fabulous event. And we're really, really excited about it growing even bigger this year. We sold out of exhibitor spaces last year at Whitehorse Park. So we moved to this bigger space at the Veterans Memorial, and we're really expecting a dynamite event on May 17th. The other big initiative this year of the Communications Committee, two things. One is I want to mention, and Elaine may go into this, there's a separate group that's doing history of Ocean Pines that is sort of connected through one of our board members. And I thought, because you mentioned this guy, Jim Trumbull, Levine is on the committee. It's a huge wealth of information about the history of Ocean Pines. She's been here since day one when her husband helped build and sell it. And there's a subgroup really working to make sure that the history of what I say is particularly the news folks, I think, Hamilton were in the institutional knowledge about it. It's still important documents and capture all of this history so that it goes forward with the next group of people who are making it. And that's sort of the subcommittee. The other big piece of our work this year has been introducing something called the Ocean Pines Good Neighbors Program. We congratulated our first honoree at the last school meeting. The second one will be announced at this board meeting. What we've done with this is a very simple program, but we hear regularly, and I'm sure you all hear and see this all the time, about people in the community doing good things for their neighbors. And we're not talking about, oh, they built me a new house or they paid for my child's college. No, it's, they shoveled my walks and I had a broken leg and I couldn't, or they picked up my mail while I was in the hospital. It's touching small stories like that that remind us what's great about living in this community. And so we've solicited nominations for people around the community. Tell us about your neighbors who do good work here and have done something good. We've got about 15 of the first 2 months. We've got 15 nominees. We'll honor the second set of them at this meeting, at next Saturday's meeting. We're encouraging more people to continue to nominate folks. We're refining the program as we go because we don't want it to be so subjective that it's just like, well, the committee liked this person. I'm gonna, we want it to be clear that there's certain criteria, but it's loose enough to say, wow, that's just something that fell out of the air and somebody really gets let's recognize it. It's not a big deal, but we've gotten such good feedback on it. We did a little segment on WMDT TV. We did the Pines cast about it. We've gotten coverage in the local papers and things. So it's just a reminder to people that good neighbors live in Ocean Pines. We look out for each other. And I feel like that's a positive thing the communications committee can do to continue to create goodwill. And, you get on social media, there's all this negativity, people just complain about things. This is a reminder that there's way more good than bad in this community and most communities. So we're really proud of that program and we hope to continue to really promote it and grow it. We're going to start asking you, Stuart, at the meetings to mention not just the honorees for the month, but the other people who are nominated, because we don't want anybody to fall by the wayside who's doing good work. We want to make.
I had a question for you. Pines Cast.
Yes.
I know that our PR department gets out information, but I haven't seen anything from the communications committee to push that out further. I post it on different sites all the time.
Yeah, what we do is part of our committee's mandate or goal is to amplify all the Ocean City messaging.
If you haven't heard it, Pines Cast is terrific. Tony does an amazing job. And
Gary and I went on there and talked about good neighbors and also the kickoff. And he's really good at, asking people their stories. And there's been so many great episodes of that. So if you haven't heard Pines Cast yet, definitely tune into it. It's really enjoyable. But yes, we're trying in that and other kinds of messaging that Josh and the team put out. We're constantly trying to amplify that in the community through social media, particularly.
Just make sure during the Good Neighbors thing that you give me the names of everybody.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna send you. We have the nominee, the person for this week who can't because they're ill, but I'm going to send you the list of other people who were also nominated because we want everyone to for them good work. And I believe we'll also be able to, we want to support other committees. We try to do a little bit to help with the strategic planning committee getting out their survey, where we will also be all hands on deck to help promote voting in the board elections and participation in the annual meeting again. So we're trying to reinforce the good work of the staff wherever we can. And for that, one more note before I'll start. I really, one of our challenges you'll see in our report was we had a lot of trouble with we have hybrid members, people working full time, people retired. So we're doing everything by teams, and we had some technical issues. And I want to just give credit to Linda Martin, who literally just solved our problems and made it so painless for us. So she's amazing. She
does a great job.
So that's what I just wanted to throw that out, but I wanted to make sure to give some credit.
I will also move those communications. So in the kiosks that were taken down.
Yeah.
Did you all know? So first of all, I missed my street because the kiosk was.
That's why because
you turn on Granby and I turn and you turn. Well, they planted trees.
Yeah,
every kiosk was. Well, I thought that was really a nice thing. But when you see a new tree, that's where a kiosk is.
And I don't know, Elaine, if you want to speak. I'm not really up on the latest on the signs, but if you wanted to speak to that originally was going to purview of the communications committee, the sign replacement. But unless you can
just very quickly, because I'll do it at the board.
And I don't want that to count against my time. So
yeah.
It will.
All the signs will be in place shortly. We've 4 that are in process right now. We have one that is working, I think, of course, at the North Gate. The other 3, any day now, they will be up and running. We have one we still have to go in front of the
And
county just to get a quick sign off. And you have a problem with 2 electronic signs being on the same plot of property. We just had to show them because they don't want the distraction of 2 signs. So we had to go before them to show them that the plot that they're talking about, which is Maitland Creek and Campbell Road.
Yeah.
You can even say, is the same plot. So we just had to show them that there's no way you can see there's 2 signs
At the same time,
vantage point. And so we just have to go back and get their signature on. So that's the last one.
I got to tell you, the only feedback I've gotten, I've gotten all positive stuff. People like them. Yeah, seriously, they like those.
They're doing a nice job. How
The messaging, everything, and they're really good looking.
it looks very nice.
And we're not putting any of our staff at any risk of hurting themselves, changing the mat every week. It was a good idea. Hold on,
oh, you want to let John go?
John, go ahead.
He's a senior to me.
Linda, for the kickoff, now that's going to get moved to the veterans. Harry, do you guys expect more attendees? Obviously, it's more room,
Yeah, that's
whatever, and more folks can.
Yeah, that's what's driving it. Is we had 1,000 people in White Horse Park. It was 20 people.
Yeah, it's tight down there parking and
And
what.
it's right, and it's much in terms of like setting up tables for all these exhibitors. 100 tables. They were all in these weird angles on the tree. So it's a much smoother operation. Plus, now we'll have a stage, so the performers, and a PA system, so the singers couldn't be heard in the pavilion. So we'll have a big stage, and we'll have a PA system. And Debbie Donahue is really been a great consultant for us on this. But yes, we expect more people. Bring your friends. It's gonna
be a good event.
I got the veterans. I'm working the veterans deal.
I'm giving up all the board members to man the table for about 45 minutes each. And not the freaking flicker table.
The best table.
Or for Saturday.
But last year we wanted to have an info at oceanpines.org table, and there wasn't anybody to stamp it. And so Monica has said this year that table will be there, and the board will make sure it's covered.
And Greg has committed to being there as well.
Great.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I'll bet the other one's up on Saturday.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
Talk about the kickoff day. Is everybody just going to park on the grass there, or?
And
No.
you'll be able to park in the library lot. You'll be able to park in that lot alongside the Ocean Views lines. Debbie is confident because we're able to park so many people for instance, 4th of July, which is an even bigger event, that we'll have enough space in the areas around there to park.
Because I hope you got the one from Environment, our committee, because I know we do have an application. Didn't get it?
We didn't get it yet,
Okay.
but we would love to have you.
No, I have a
It's-
exhibits chair. I thought you turned it in, but
Not yet. But the one thing is that it's the day before Bay Day.
I know.
And some people say, well, I'm doing Bay Day. I didn't do.
yeah, we had to choose.
But we really hope you get
It's back to back. It was kind of
Yeah.
disappointed. Yeah.
Yes.
And they'll also be parking next to Calvin back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right there off
Right.
Cafe.
I'm whole side into that.
Okay, so
Okay, we're going to move forward. Steve Ransdale and the Elections Committee.
Good evening, everybody.
We can't see you, Steve.
Nope, you can't. That's by design. Anyway, thank you. I certainly wish I was there in person and you could see me, because if I'm not there, that means that the president and Mr. Musk want me to be here at my desk every morning. So I apologize for not being there in person. By way of our report, our actual annual report was posted back in September after the election. Just to give you some facts and figures, if you're interested, we counted a total of 3,283 ballots that were cast in our election. We started with a mailing of over 7,400, actually 7,487 is what we mailed out. 122 of those came back as completely undeliverable by the U.S. Post Office. Where we could, we resolved the forwarding issue and mailed packages to a better address when we have it. But one of our big challenges, like it is every year, is that we can only mail to the addresses that folks have on file with the admin. And so any word, we'd be interested in working with the communications team or anyone to help get people to update their records, both their mailing address and their email addresses, as we do send it out both ways. The election last year ran, from where I sat, very smoothly. We were very pleased with our vendor and the way things work. Like other committees, I'm sure can attest to, we do have some voices in the community that appear to strive to undermine the integrity of our elections, or at least cast questions about them. So a good portion of the work of the committee during the actual execution of the election is countering that. Although for the most part, if anyone makes a direct question or complaint, we address it, get them the replacement ballot. But we do have voices out there who are making it seem as if nefarious things are going on when nothing could be further from the truth. But we continue to try to be as open and as transparent as possible. Towards that end, we did have some recommendations in our report from last year. Several of them centered around proposed changes to Resolution M06. Many of them just to clarify issues that when folks have read them, they have either misinterpreted them or provided an alternate interpretation to the words. So we've asked that some things be clarified. One such issue is the bylaws state that only one election package will be sent to each address. But in fact, we send it out in two forms, both mail and electronically, to facilitate the online vote. A question was raised about that. I say question, that's a nice way of saying an accusation that we had violated the bylaws. I politely clarified for the individual in question that I appreciate that's their interpretation of what the bylaw says. Mine is a little bit different. And in the last election, mine was the one that counted. So we have asked that language be clarified so that we don't have the same kind of issue. But that's a downside to having the hybrid voting system that seems to be very popular. By way of that, I can tell you that these numbers are votes, not ballots. These are total votes. But we had 4,557 paper votes cast and 1,743 online. The trend is growing more towards online than the paper ballots, but we do still have many residents who are much prefer the paper ballots. So we have asked that the bylaws be clarified to address that question. We also our bylaws do allow us to have, and we have had for the past several years, a drop-off ballot box so that you don't have to put anything in the mail to get it back to us. One of the other challenges that have come up with, as the bylaws are written and we are required, the deadline for the end of balloting and the counting of the ballots only is a matter of a few short days. So the process of getting that drop-off box closed out and packaged up and mailed to any vendor who's counting those ballots has, let's just say we've had some very hairy nights trying to find a place that was open to get the shipping done. So we have asked that MO6 be modified. This may not be a modification. It says we may provide it. The drop box is only a convenience that we offer. It's not mandated by bylaw. Our procedures this year do call for that drop box to close a week earlier than the voting deadline, just so that we can make sure that all the votes that are dropped off are counted. So, like I said, last year it was a race to get up to the drop off spot. And even at that, the UPS guy says, "Nope, I've already signed the paperwork. We're not taking it." So we tipped him a little bit of money to get him to realize he could sign that book again. So everything was counted and appropriate.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, you did.
Steve, the one comment I'm going to make to you about last year's election, I thought that the process ran incredibly smooth. I think that the entire committee did an incredible job. It was a huge undertaking, and it looked like from the outside that it was seamless. Not really on the inside, maybe not so much, but on the outside looking in, it looked seamless to everybody.
Everyone else has reported on the state of their committee membership. I should point out that last year's election, when I came to the chairmanship of the committee, I was a committee of one at that moment. We did have several folks who stepped up, and we refilled the committee for the election up to 5. But since then, I've had 2 more resignations and 2 more folks have stepped in. So we are fully up to speed with 5 members. Right now, we have an RFP that just closed. We put it out for the election vendor. Last year's, we had a 1-year contract. We obtained board approval to request RFPs for a 3-year term from our vendors so that we don't have to do an RFP every year to get a new vendor. Our report did make a strong recommendation to keep last year's vendor because things worked so smoothly and we had a good experience with them. But in the spirit of transparency and fairness, we did put the RFP out and are considering others, although their strict ability to deliver what we want in terms of what our election audience has come to expect. We're going to be pretty strict to those rules. So, Stuart, you're very unlikely to get the cheapest bid. But I
I just want the best company to do it, and that's what we.
I can assure you we will be within budget.
That's all I ask.
All right, then that's that. Let me see if I had anything else in here.
I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, Steve, you know what it's just a comment, not a question. I'm sorry. I'm looking at voters who voted both online and returned paper ballots, 33, which represents 1%. That's encouraging that that's being tracked.
That's cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a fail-safe method of finding it.
I can assure you that we had last year, again, in those, what I call the forces of darkness that reside in Ocean Pines, we did have people purposely send in both paper and electronics to try and trap us or get a talking point. But that was identified. As a matter of fact, we didn't go public, but we know who did it. So
Mom's the word.
Mom's the word.
Mom's the word. Nope. We're not here to shame anybody, but I can tell you that from everything I know and that our committee has focused on is that the election is fair. It's I won't say it's error proof because I don't believe anything ever is, but it's as close as humanly possible. And we try and meet the needs of the Ocean Pines community, but we also understand that we don't just have one Ocean Pines community. We have several. We have younger people who are extraordinarily comfortable with technology and older folks who are not. We have locals and we have folks who live in far distant places and join us for vacation time. So finding a system that addresses all those things is difficult. So again, to perhaps the communications committee, I'd love to partner with you on perhaps putting up a web page somewhere that has frequently asked questions so that folks know where to go.
That would seem like a natural for the Ocean Pines website. I'm sure you have to do it, but I mean, we'll help you however we can.
Okay, I appreciate that so much. And that and a drive to get people to update their information, because I can tell you that some people, when they don't get their ballot and they call me, I have been called everything but a child of God over the phone. When in fact, the problem is I mailed it to the address you have on file. I emailed it to the address you have on file, and you just haven't updated your records. Nothing I can do about that. I can't call 8,000 homes and say, are your records up to date? So those are just some of our challenges, but I got a great committee of folks working, and we're going to continue to do our best. We're Monday after the board meeting on Saturday, we'll be reviewing the RFP responses and picking a vendor to recommend to the board. That's it.
Well, Steve, you and your group do a Herculean task every year, and that doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you for. I'm going to double your salary. Okay.
I follow in very big footsteps. Tom Piotti laid down most of the process.
He did it.
We're just executing his plan and sharpening the pencil.
Okay, we're going to move ahead. Thank you, Steve, to environmental natural assets. Patricia, go right ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Except for my mom. Yeah. Okay. So just to point out, I became chair in August. Our previous chair kind of resigned kind of early in August before our August meeting. So as no one else would volunteer to take over, I said I would do it. But
thank you.
But as a part-time resident, I also asked one of our full-time resident members to serve as vice chair if I can't be here, and I'm not always here to observe everything that's going on. So I would say that our committee does meet on the fourth Wednesday of every month, or tries to, but we run into the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays just about every year. So we did not meet in December, but we opted, instead of having a meeting in November, we visited the Worcester County Recycling Center, and we found that was a field trip, and we found that to be very enlightening. And then if you read the Winter Ocean Pines report, our Green Street article really talked about everything we learned at that and trying to educate our community more about recyclables and what is and isn't. So we have 2 vacancies on the committee. We have 2 awaiting third-term approval. Hopefully that'll come on Saturday. Just to highlight some other things, as I mentioned, we are very lucky to have the opportunity to submit a column to the quarterly newsletter. And I've been doing that. I'm writing them because no one else has volunteered to do it. But I try to find photos. I think that enhances the articles. But I didn't get much feedback on them, but I hope they're okay. One of the things that we have submitted several, probably some of them before I was chair. What do you call them again? Charging documents. I would forget that.
Oh, I've seen them.
Yeah. And some of the things, it's like, we know they've gone in, but we don't always find out, hey, did that ever happen? Until we actually see them. We don't get notification from anybody in the administration. For instance, we did ask for some turtle basking platforms. There used to be more trees, fallen trees that were around the Southgate Pond. And this is the time of year when you'll see the turtles start popping up and looking for a place to sun themselves. And our recommendation was, why don't you just use fallen trees and just, lean them into the water? But again, I know that's been accepted. We just haven't seen anything done yet. Another highlight that we of the year was we produced a 6.5 minute video about all the amenity, well, the beauty and the resources of the community. We debuted that at the kickoff last year, but it was the idea of trying to set up to view a video in a sunny location. So anyway, it's a nice video, and I'd like to see other uses of it. Perhaps part of an orientation, or even if we could just get it posted, a link posted on our committee page with.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead, Monica. Yeah.
We should talk to Josh, our marketing, our PR person.
Yes, well, it was briefly posted on the Facebook page, and maybe.
Yeah, we wanted like the weekly.
Yeah, the weekly news blast that goes up.
Right.
Well, I can't.
This week of the pond.
It's been around for a while, so I mean, it's been almost a year. I just want a permanent home for it somewhere.
For the week in the pines, that it continue to go out.
And we did already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's anyway.
On the website under.
No, it's not. I mean, and one of the things that is on our committee, when video is posted, it just gives you the link and doesn't describe it. I mean, yeah. So that's what I would like to do. I guess I could put a request into Josh for that. Can we have this posted? I thought it was uploaded to YouTube. I couldn't find it though. So we have been doing exhibits at the kickoff last year and Bay Day, and this year, because the two events are back to back, we've decided just to do the kickoff. That was very successful last year. And I would like to know why the decision was made to put those on the same weekend, because
it wasn't intended.
Okay.
If I could see.
Go ahead. Communication scroll, go right ahead.
Last year we were on April 20th, which was a Saturday. This year, that weekend is Easter. The weekend after that is Spring Fest in Ocean City. The weekend after that is it was like the earliest that there was any date available that we could do it was the 17th, and we really didn't know at the time that Bay Day was the next day.
Right.
And so I really apologize for that. I think that ideally we wouldn't have done it, but we got pushed all the way back.
Well, hopefully it will continue to be an annual event and it won't conflict with Bay Day again.
And what we're hoping this year is that we can create some kind of synergy between them, so that we'll push people from, that will, because we lost some groups that were environmental groups that aren't coming this year because they're going to Bay Day, and
Bay Day just lost us.
Weekend.
Okay, well, thank you. We also went to the Teach a Kid to Fish Day, which I think is by it's Anglers Club, which is just a club. And, we did exhibit there, try to, show them ways to responsibly dispose of your gear, your line, and your hooks. There wasn't a lot of interest. The kids just wanted to get fishing. So I don't think we'll do that this year. We also, at our exhibits, thanks to our board liaison, had a demonstration of an oyster cage. We're trying to promote oyster gardening. Anybody who has a waterfront property and wants to help raise some oysters to clean our water, we're going to hopefully do that again this year. And we actually adopted a cage at the Swim and Racket Club gazebo.
That's right behind you. I was going to ask you about that, if that was yours.
Yeah, it is. I think the signage originally, Coastal Days had one.
We didn't have one.
It's right behind the
gazebo at the Swim and Racket Club.
The sea breeze.
Yeah, we have a rotating volunteers who will maintain it on a quarterly basis. Basically it's just, cleaning the algae off and making sure the little guys are growing. So
You said one over at Yacht Club?
Yes, there is. That's sponsored by my committee.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, we give out information on how to start up with that if you want to do it. One of our more controversial initiatives was getting some signage up about goose and duck and other waterfall crossing. We're very happy that finally happened. We still have the 4 signs that are strategically posted around the Southgate Pond, where most of the activity occurs. And we've also gotten use of the electronic sign to promote that. I don't think we have, I know we had a little bit of a kill off, a die off around the Southgate earlier this year, probably due to the bird flu, but we're coming to the time of year when the geese have babies and the babies can't fly. And there's a certain time of year when the adult geese lose their feathers and they can't fly. So that's still a concern, but I'm happy that we still have cooperation with the signage from
the electronic signs. 2 of them will be near the Southgate.
I know.
So it will be
even more visibility.
Yeah, I really just because I'm kind of the sign lady. That turned out to be because I learned all the regulation. The current signs that we have are you can't put signage either down the medians, nor can you put them on the easement area. They have to have certain setbacks. So those signs are out of compliance and they will have to be removed. And we're really asking everybody who has these temporary signs to stop putting them up. It makes it makes the neighborhood look junky, but it's not any signs. I know we're going to be aware. However, in the areas that you have the most concern, because we're concerned about it as well, on those electronic signs, there will be signage that will be rotated constantly about making sure that they're looking at.
Okay, so are you saying the existing signs are out of compliance? Is this with the new snipe sign?
Correct.
What other absolutely like signs? Okay, well, I'll leave that up to Public Works, and I'm sure the people on my committee
correct because we are going to be in the process of telling all of the committees and groups that are putting down these temporary signs. We are going to have to pick them up. We're also at the same time having to remove all the signs down the medians. We were never allowed to do that. They were never permitted. You could only have traffic signs. So we're cleaning all of that up. In fact, over 80 signs have been removed off the median support.
I think the chief picked them up, didn't he? Yeah.
Okay, so I thought that was just on county roads.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll have to pass that on, and I know some people will be unhappy. I
know, and we will do whatever we can to support everything for everybody on those electronic signs. That's the whole purpose of them.
Okay.
But it also helps to clean up the clutter and the distraction, and that's one of the issues with the county is that the roadways are for driving, and it's very distracting.
Okay, well, let me just move on. We continue to encourage the enforcement of the kind of revised tree cutting regulations, the permitting process, and, making sure that people aren't just getting out there on a Sunday afternoon and with their chainsaws without, I don't know how much of that actually happens. I've seen it happen in my own neighborhood, but hopefully with the new rules, people are paying attention. And I also appreciate the planting of additional trees. I saw that Southgate has even more cherry trees, but we would also encourage using native trees when possible because better for our environment. Another initiative that actually was accomplished was the installation of fishing gear disposal tubes at the Southgate and whatever you want to call it, Route 90 / Southgate 2 pond. And that's great. I don't know if we've gotten I noticed that people are putting other things in those little disposal tubes like soda cans, which would do the entire thing. So we had requested, I don't know if that's happened yet, we requested to have them labeled line and hooks only and not your bait containers and your other things. But, it's hopefully the education will, people will learn, it's not for soda cans. Let's see. A long time issue that we started working on a couple of years ago when I was newer to the committee was getting some mitigation of the shoreline that's eroding of the Southgate Pond on the south side of it, of the parkway. We helped Coastal Bays put in a grant, and I just don't know where that project has gone. Or
didn't you put some grass there?
I don't think anything's been done there yet. The whole idea was to do planting and maybe some other kind of buffering materials to discourage the geese from nesting in that area.
I think Rick, didn't John mention that around the pond about 2 months ago? No.
Well, it's somewhere it's gotten stalled, so we would just like to see if we can get that started. Another thing, just recommendations. I see that a lot of times our concerns overlap with marine activities and with recreation.
Yeah.
And, it's like, I don't know how we can encourage like more meetings of, I guess we're allowed to just meet independently without permission, but, just so we can.
I can address that. Yeah. For example, Tim Peck came to one of our meetings. So we have invited in the past the Recs and Parks and your committee to come to our meetings, and we can go to your meetings. And in fact, we've been talking.
Encourage that.
We've been talking quite a bit about projects that we can work on together. And last year, I believe we had a table together at that.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, so we'll do that again.
Oh,
Not the Bay Day, but the kickoff.
Okay, so you're a Marine activity.
Yes, I am.
Okay, and then Becky, nice to meet you. We've been talking about, I think we've adopted the Swim Racket Club Park, and maybe working with you to get some things done there, get some improvements.
We could always have a girls
And-
committee chairperson meeting together.
It's, as long as there's one. I also, as a new committee person, I would appreciate if there was some kind of an orientation for new committee chairs, because there's a lot of things I like, it's like, oh,
Are you going to do that tonight?
no, no.
Yeah, get it done.
Well, I was going to wait till,
Open discussion. Open discussion. Let's wait
Okay.
for open discussion. We'll address that.
And I'll just in conclusion, we have our next event that we're kind of co-sponsoring with Ocean City Beach Heroes is a cleanup of Whitehorse Park on Earth Day.
That's
April 22nd. It's a Tuesday. It's a pretty big space. They have an army of volunteers, and hopefully, with enough promotion, we'll get some other Ocean Pines residents to show up. They hand out. Well, I had everybody a grabber and a bag and gloves, and off you go.
And you're going to be doing that on Earth Day.
On Earth Day at 11 to 1 p.m.
And,
Yes.
I
and
live on a canal, and I've noticed the last couple of years that we've had much more issues with the tides being higher,
Mm-hmm.
and with all of the information out now about global warming and everything. I'm just wondering if the committee has done any research or looking into ways to
and
protect ocean pines, the water coming up over the bulkheads more often. Whether it's recommending that when the bulkheads are replaced, that they be raised 6
Yeah.
inches, a foot, something to help do something to promote conservation and keeping the water out of the yards.
Well, it's first I've heard that it's an issue. I do have a couple of committee members who are waterfront. I did hear there was a weird tide earlier this year that kind of took the water away.
We're getting more of those, and we're getting more at tides where water's coming over the cities. And at some point, Ocean Plains is going to have to address what we're going to do about that going forward.
So, Patricia, I would mention to you that what month are we in? In our February, I wasn't there. January meeting, someone, and I don't know if it was Tim, is he still on the committee?
No,
Someone from the committee came to our meeting, and Gary had already raised this issue with me in a conversation, and we talked about some ideas. So let's touch base with what
Okay.
we were thinking about.
yeah, because I would think that, well, this is obviously people that have bulkheaded lots pay for maintenance, pay a
That's right.
higher HOA for
Right.
maintenance of them, and it would be something that I guess would have to be addressed through that. But as far as like, we can't tell the ocean to not rise, but
But there can be a recommendation that Ocean Pines
look into that.
look into ways of long-term doing
Yeah.
something to alleviate the problem. And the easiest thing that I've seen and heard from other people is when the bulkheads are being put back in or repaired or whatever, that they be raised some amount. Now, that doesn't take care of every single lot, because you've got places, like and the different docks and things where you can do that. But it would at least be a start, and maybe that would start the conversation on what else can be done.
Okay, look at the committee making a recommendation about that. I guess the other thing is that, when you have places that aren't bulkheaded, people paying attention to the critical areas laws about, not cutting down trees and shrubbery that is on waterfront, that is hopefully within those areas where you're supposed to have some buffer between yourself and the waterways. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else? Okay, moving on. We're going to go golf. Frank Brown. Hey, Frank, I hear your favorite number is 4.
Numbers 4.
4?
4? Yeah, exactly. That's only if you hit it crooked. I don't hit it crooked.
Frank doesn't know that word.
Not anymore, anyway. Okay, golf. I have what I consider an upbeat report.
Good. Let's hear it.
Golf. I'd like, first of all, to thank everyone in the OP community for their continued support of the golf course, which includes the board, the GM, the golf members, and all the residents in OP who participate in coming to the club and playing our club, because it is one of the best in the area. The next part, we talked a little bit about charitable contributions and things that the members of our club participate in. We have several different tournaments. There was the Pink Lady tournament that produced $8,975 of contributions. The Golf Members Councils each year does the Taylor Bank tournament. We gave out this past year $15,000 in scholarships to local high school students. The 2024 tournament, which took place last summer, has raised $10,000, which will go towards this year's awards. So, and then in addition to that, you can read through them. There are many other tournaments that go on at the golf club that support various organizations. As far as our membership goes, we're really pleased. We have over 100 members for the Men's Golf Association this year, and we have 70 members for the Ladies Golf Association. So it's really taken off, and I want to give a lot of credit to Ann Shockley and Susan Morris and other ladies that work with that group, as they've really done many things to really help promote the ladies playing golf and all kinds of little tournaments and things of that sort. So hats off to the ladies. And hats off to the men who continue to do a great job of supporting our club. A couple of things that have been worked on over the years. The bathrooms were refurbished over the year, and there was a substantial renovation of the new driving range shelter. At the far end of the driving range, there's a new shelter that was built this year. I'm really pleased to announce that when we built that shelter, we built the entire thing in-house, no expenditure outside of Ocean Pines. Eddie Wells did most of the work on it. We were able to get the county to approve our plans and drawings without having to go to an architect to do it. And the whole thing worked out tremendously.
Did ARC approve it?
They have to arc about that.
Frank, is we don't have any toilets out there
At the
new facility.
That's something I would guess there are some in maintenance, but there's never been any direction to
Nothing in there.
So it might be something to look into as to something we could do to make the facilities better. We'll look at. I'll write that down.
A pink outhouse.
Yeah. Okay. Also, as far as Justin's concerned, Justin Hartshorn, our greenskeeper, has done a tremendous job. They do first of all, this week they just did the spring aerations, which actually turned out a week earlier. They were going to do it not next week, but they were able to move it up a week, which is good because that gives more time to recover before the real busy outside play season starts very soon. He does ninja tining, which is a very small hole that they poke in the green often. And by doing that, it helps the water get through the matted grass down to the roots of the plants, and we get better greens because of that. I'm talking about greens. The greens this year have made it through winter the best I've seen in the 20 years that I've been playing this golf course. They were in super shape just before the aeration, which took place, I think, Wednesday and Thursday of this week. The air circulation is another thing that's important. They've trimmed a lot of the overhanging branches around our greens, and the more air circulation we get, the better the greens are. And as I said, the greens are, like I said, the best I've seen them in years. Also, relating to greens, we have now 5 additional fans on some of the greens that are tucked back in the corners, like number 14, number 12, 8, a few others, where the greens are back surrounded by trees, and we can't cut the trees down. They're too close to the greens, and a lot of them are on other people's property to start with. So there are large fans that we were able to purchase from a golf course that was getting rid of them. They were completely rebuilt, and they're back in place in the new locations. We're waiting for the electrical hookup for a couple of those. Hopefully we'll have them all running this summer. One other item relating to members' help for the golf course, we have a group called Sand Dogs, which go around once in a while and fill up divots and things of that sort. Everybody gets in a golf cart with a bucket full of sand and seed, and you're assigned to a hole, and you go out and fill up all the little divots, and they go ahead and do it as a big project in the spring, but then each month or so, they go out and do it again individually. Certain members are assigned to certain holes, and they take care of them as we go along through the year. Also wanted to thank the board and John Viola for the new bridge on the 4th hole. They did an excellent job on that bridge. It's super solid, and it'll be there for many years to come.
The railing is pretty cool.
Yeah, the railing is before it was kind of falling off, the pickets falling off and everything. Well, now the railing is solid, and the bridge itself, I was amazed. I was a builder for many years, and the way they bolted that decking down, it's not going to move forever. Anyway, they did a great job in the bridge construction.
Frank, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Matt Ruggieri's operation for classes and clinics, that seems to be working out pretty well over there.
Absolutely fantastic. He's doing clinics. I see him out there all the time. But my granddaughter's taking us right now. But anyway, yeah, he's out there all the time. I've known Matt since he was that high, and he's a great guy. And the lessons, I don't know the particulars of how it works out, who gets what on the deal, but I do know that he's busy.
That's cool.
And happy to see that. And the new facility down there really gives him an opportunity to provide what he needs for the people that he works with. And I guess one final note, I'm also a member of Doug's committee, the Budget and Finance Committee, and golf is $100,000 year to date ahead of where we were last year.
That's great. Yeah.
Well, that money goes to keeping our assessments low.
There you go. So, and one last thing on that. Last year we had 126 members. This year we have 154 members.
Excellent. Excellent. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Any questions for Frank in golf? I'll move ahead to marine activities.
Thank you so much. We have 8 members, and John Latham is a liaison. John's been with us for some time, and he also was a former committee member. So he's done an excellent job, and we have excellent feedback from the board. And as I said last year, if we don't hear from them in a timely manner, we send John over and find out what's going on. So we're really very, very happy with the feedback from the committee. You will see that I have listed 7 projects we were involved in last year, so I'll elaborate a little bit. We solicit input from the residents. This is actually done by Mike Alpaul, who is on our committee. We've gotten a number of feedback questions, and what we'll do is discuss it, think about what we might want to do to address that issue, and get back immediately or after our next meeting to that resident who has raised those questions. And that is done primarily through this week in the Pines, and there's an email for them to contact us. We have continued to participate in Protectors of the St. Martin's River. We were the first committee to actually begin the Oyster Project, and I went around and friends that I knew that were on canals, I handed them information, and they became actively involved. I think Jeff is involved in that, and Rob is involved in that as well. We work with the Assateague Coastal Trust. The program that we were involved in was testing the waters. I know that for that program, Sue is one of the members of our committee that is involved. We were able last year to get funding. We submitted a charging document to the board, and they funded for us 10 water testing kits, which our committee is testing the waters, working with the Assateague Coastal Bay Trust. Sue, I know, had a presentation to the committee. They're still testing. They're not going to have final figures until November, so we'll be able to give the board feedback at that time. We did put an oyster cage down at Pier D, and I believe John Cascio is the one who is going down every week, checking on everything. In our January meeting, we discussed going forward a project we'd like is to get signage for down there. And I know there's already been talk. John looked into it. John L., you looked into it too. And we discussed what we might want on that so that people know what it's all about. It would be like going to the zoo and you go up and there's the animals behind the window, but then there's information about what this is, what's the purpose of it, and things like that. So that's one of the projects going forward. We obtained new no wake and shoal markers at the entrance of the White Horse Park boat ramp and at the Yacht Club Marina. So you can take a look at those 7. In addition to, I already mentioned, we're going to be participating in the Well, I'll take that up as that's a topic on my next meeting and see if our committee is willing to continue, and I'm sure they will, but we may be losing Susan. I know she's involved with the Bay Day. So we'll see. We'll follow up with that. We have invited members from the assets. We always argue over what the correct name of that committee is. It's
Environmental and natural assets.
Environmental and natural assets.
Say E&A.
Okay. And so we are going to continue to work. We're going to move forward, and we've also talked about working with your committee as well, so Park and Rec. So there's a lot of overlapping, and we have a lot of ideas, so we want to get together more often with that. I think that's pretty much it. We had no problems last year. We are contemplating the submission of a charging document to the board to fund public notice sign for the purpose of educating the public about the value of the Oyster Project. I already mentioned that. That's what we're going to look into this year. This would follow our plans to add another oyster cage at the Yacht Club, probably between Piers B and C in the spring of 2025. Recommendations for board action is to encourage participation of the canal residents in the oyster cage on the canals to improve our water quality. And this is part of, I think, at the last annual meeting that we have open to the public. I remember someone raising some questions about exactly what is the board and the committees doing about the quality of the water. So that's why we're really pushing those projects. We're hoping to develop a plan to educate the residents again, and this has already been mentioned, on the impact of throwing your grass and other, even, not just trash, but throwing grass and tree limbs into the canals and into the river along the river that touches our properties. That's
bad.
Yes. I guess it's up to debate. And that's it. I have nothing more to add. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to,
George, I got a couple questions. Get Doug.
Oh, just to make my time longer.
Oh, yeah, you bet. Gary knows this. It's gonna way. Filibuster.
Go ahead.
Maybe, I don't know if this should be directed to you or board in general. Any updates on the Jenkins Point project? Because that seems to have fallen by the wayside.
They don't have any funding. They don't have any money for it. They're still permitting.
It's still, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Have we, because when I was on the board, we allocated 10 grand to do the update.
I know.
Has that been done? I believe that's been done already, right? But so it's just kind of in limbo right now.
Until they're funded. So once they're funded and the permitting's done, then we're going to start the project.
And we'll have to
Hold your breath.
No, not holding my breath for that.
I'm going to put on the agenda for next month because I know a couple of my committee members are
Well,
really.
it was Kevin Smith at Maryland Coastal Bays.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, Pat.
oh yeah, just Donna, just real quickly, when you mentioned the grass clippings in the canals, what we noticed last year, there's a lot more cyanobacteria, that really bad algae that is actually poisonous. So I think we did one article about that for the report last year, and then the coming spring issue, we'll have an article on responsible lawn care environment.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
A lot of people have these lawn services like True Green and what have you. That adds to the pollution in the canals. Orchid
if
and
they-
spray for
I mean,
mosquitoes.
we're telling people to grass cycle, like don't collect your clippings at all. Just leave them in the grass, and they'll become get a mulching mower, and only maybe hire companies that agree to either take the stuff away or leave it in the grass. I mean,
Okay.
leaving it in the grass is
I think Stuart raises a good question about the use of fertilizers.
a lot of areas.
In a second.
And a lot of these companies that you hire, they can use environmentally responsible fertilizers.
Are these fertilizers are they responsible?
Yeah, you have.
Of course so.
Yes.
Yeah.
They might cost money, but you price.
Well, some counties have now banned a lot of chemical fertilizers, but not Worcester County. But we could probably put out a list. Maybe that could be in a weekly email blast.
Isn't there an issue if you just mulch put your grass and leave it in the lawn of it washing out when there's a storm washing it?
No,
No, I don't think that's an issue at all.
That's good.
It decays back into the grass.
it'll just go down there and
You got to go right to the dentist.
Anything else for Parks and Rec?
No.
Well, Parks and Rec. Anything else for marine activities?
Nothing from me.
Wasn't trying to cut you off. Parks and Rec is next.
I am.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Becky Leonard, Chairman of Park and Recs. Right now, we have 6 members. As of our annual report, Bill Bernard, his appointment expired. He did not renew, so we are looking for one more member. But we do have 6 members in our committee. So our bullet points of what we have done over the past year. The committee continues to do monthly walks to monitor conditions of OPA's parks, playgrounds, and recreational trails. When we do these walks, I identify safety concerns, maintenance requirements, as well as picking up litter and performing other associated activities to ensure a high level of usability of our trails, parks, and playgrounds. So even during the winter, we still, not so much as a group, but maybe individuals go to different parks and kind of assess the parks and then report back at the meetings.
You found that those QR code signs work well for you?
I'll get to the
I'm sorry. Sorry.
We also for Ocean Pass Community Bike Day. This year the bike day is May 10th from 3 to 6. They're going to be starting off at the clubhouse. There's a 7-mile ride and a 14-mile ride. And then also something new, they're going to do a bike rodeo at Swim and Racket on the 18th of May from 3 to 5. I think those flyers were out in this week in the Pines emails. So that's a new event for kids and to promote bike safety. So we're excited, and people on the committee are going to help out with that. We worked with the recreation department this past year to update the Adopt the Park program, because we were finding that a lot of the parks had signs that they were adopted.
but they were old signs. There was no contact information. So they updated that. It's on the website. I guess some parks are adopted, but it would be nice to get some of the local neighborhoods that are around the parks or something like that to adopt the parks. Bainbridge Park or Bridgewater Park was updated and it got a new playground and mulch and bordered. We continue to advocate and provide recommendations for improvements to the swim and racket area and trail. We have submitted several charging documents. Some of the things that were on the charging documents have been done, and some, I guess, have not been done. So we'll continue to submit charging documents for some of those updates. We participated in OP Day last year, and we submitted to participate again. We had a table. We had maps of the local parks and the trails around Ocean Pines, and got a lot of feedback and comments from, I guess, the residents that were there. We had, through some of our walks, we recommended having some dead trees removed from White Horse Park and swim and racket, and those were removed. We had charging documents to recommended to maintaining the bocce court at the yacht club. It was resurfaced and lights were put on, and I know our group of friends that utilizes it are looking forward to use it. Once the weather warms up, and I know there was somebody else in the community, and they're looking to start a bocce league.
Well, this place put 2 more bocce courts over there.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see that on Saturday.
Great. Nice. So,
That's my here.
And
Call him Bocce Mike.
bocce guy.
you're the bocce guy. Okay.
Bocce Mike.
So we're wondering if the league's, when's the league starting and all that.
I'm just going to thank you because you made the effort to really, embellish upon what was there. And, the people that have been playing are, this is great. It was really good. So it was a promotion. It was a stepping stone to where we're going today. Memorial to Labor. That's the summer league. And we're going to have a waiting list for the fall league as well.
Birth of a new amenity.
Okay.
No one better do this.
Great. We, as part of our committee, we noticed there were some, some unused bulletin boards. One was at Swim and Racket, and one was at Bainbridge, Bainbridge Park. They were just sitting there. They were old from who knows how long. We advocated that we would put updated information on there, but with the charging document, I think they were just removed. As a committee, we still are advocating that we continue to enhance road safety in the community through several actions involved in having crosswalks added by trails and signage added to the Robin Hood Trail and other areas in the community. So we've had some crosswalks added where some of the trails cross roads and stuff. And we also recommend adding share the road signs and better markings on the roads for our bicyclists or walkers. And how can we encourage people not to park on Ocean Parkway on the side road? I noticed a mom walking her stroller and there's a truck and then she's got to veer out, and cars got to slow down. So, it's been an issue for a long time. So we're still advocating that we work together with the board and the community to help make the parkway a safer place and Ocean Pines a safer place to ride. We also recommended that the bocce ball court, horseshoe court, and shuffleboards at Whitehorse Park be fixed and cleaned and the area be maintained regularly. That was another place that my group of friends and stuff, we would utilize. So I don't know if anyone been over to Whitehorse, but the bocce ball court there have a whole new border put around there. The horseshoe there was missing a stake. So that area was replaced. And then there's also shuffleboard, which is fun. It was clean and actually pressure wash. I was over there just a couple days ago, and it's really nice. And also on the charging document, it was to do a signage to be installed to inform residents that equipment's at the rec center, okay, and they can borrow it there, which I don't know if people even are aware of that or know that. But also, I noticed when I was there the other day, usually that area was just full of leaves and it was never really blown off, maintained. People really didn't know all that stuff was back there. When I did a walk the other day, it was completely cleared off. So I'm assuming someone's maintaining and blowing that stuff. I think we also asked that be some kind of like corral fence around that area to kind of, because kids run around, they don't know it's pile of leaves. They don't know that stuff is there. They trip and fall. So maybe somehow that can be done. We have submitted recommendations for the abandoned tennis court at Swim and Racket Court, racket area in the back. We had submitted recommendations for a playground, a pavilion, or an outdoor fitness park that we have not really heard anything back from the board on that. We prepared and submitted to the board a report and charging document recommending establishing an outdoor fitness park. This was brought up from some of the surveys back in 22, 23. Residents were asking about fitness park or a trail. We recommended the board a new charging document. I don't know if the board has received it yet or not. That there is a fitness park at Whitehorse Park. I don't know if anyone knows about that. It was actually dedicated by the first resident of Ocean Pine. If you look real close in the dirty old sign, you can see it there. So we asked that the board maybe update that sign, clean it off, make a new sign, because somebody put some time to put it there, and maybe update the existing fitness that's all just wood, and not really what people want to work out on. QR codes that you asked about. Yes. So we, all the parks and trails are on the Ocean Pines website. Mm-hmm. So if you want to know the length of Robin Hood Trail and where it actually goes, you can go on the website. You can see it. So we had suggested that QR codes be put at each of the trails in the park, so people, visiting people or whatever, they can see, they can click on it. It goes right to that trail or that park.
This good idea.
So, but what happened was, I guess there was some kind of miscommunication because all the QR codes are exactly the same.
Right.
So if you go to Whitehorse Park and hit the QR code, it just goes to the trails. The trail.
You go down the trails.
But you're not going to find Whitehorse Park on the trails because you're going to find it in the parks. We submitted another charging document to correct that. It came back saying it would cost money to correct QR codes. I don't know how much a QR code of the sign is going to cost. So we just submitted another charging document to update the QR codes, because we would hope that if you go to Whitehorse Park, it's going to go to Whitehorse Park. If you go to Whitehorse Park Trail, it's going to go to Whitehorse Park Trail. So, so that's. I mean, it was nice that they put the QR codes. It didn't really work to what our committee was looking for it to do. We also, we've been working with and submitted a charging document about the an annual safety audits for our playgrounds. Are they inspected regularly? That was the question that was brought up from the committee. How do everything is being fixed? So through that, we got a response saying that the parks and playgrounds are inspected, but there's no written report. And then we inquired some more, and there is a company that is a certified company. They can come out and actually do a written support, and they gave us a dollar amount, what that would cost. And one of the members on our committee used to be part of Park and Recs, where she came from, and she personally knows a certified playground inspector, and got some information from that person. And we submitted a charging document, which I'm not sure if you guys got it yet or not, that we recommend that all of our parks and playgrounds be inspected annually, an annual audit with written documentation. And at some point, maybe a staff member here at Ocean Pines Public Works or Rec and Parks or whoever become a certified playground inspector. And then it would be done in-house. Then we would have someone in-house that can do our audits and things like that for our playground.
Great ideas.
So that's
I remember seeing the charging document up there.
Up there.
That one's in my inbox.
that one's in your inbox.
Yeah, John.
Becky, do we know, is there an insurance requirement that we have to do?
I'm not sure if they're
I remember,
inquire.
We talked about it.
yeah, we talked about it. I think JV said that it didn't, that they, every piece of equipment was inspected in every park every year, but there was no
There's
written.
no written documentation.
Yeah, but the amount of money to get the written document was a lot of money.
It was like a couple $1,000s.
Yeah, so it's like,
Okay.
but as long as they had documentation that they had it inspected and anything that was broken corrected, that satisfied our insurance. Is from what I remember.
Right.
But you want something written?
So we can know what the auditors came in and said. Was the mulch level enough? This was broken, and then we can follow up and make sure things have been done.
Okay.
And if we had and then also a certified playground inspector, because the amount of parks we have here in Ocean Pines, if we had a certified playground inspector, then if something was an issue, they could go and inspect it in-house as part of their, routine. Or, as many parks as we have here, they should, I'm going to bring my grandchild here to play in the parks. I want to make sure they're safe.
And
And we're bringing, lots of people are bringing their families and friends, and people are coming to visit. We want to make sure that our parks are safe.
And it's going to be a whole lot cheaper than a lawsuit if some kid does get hurt.
And then another thing our committee has been stressing over the past year, which has been in our annual reports, is the gymnasium floor at the rec center. We all know where we are with that right now. It's and I'm not sure where they are in the process of fixing whatever's done, but what needs to be done right now, since the leak happened and everything, is actually get to the root cause of what caused the leak. And when we had inquired about it, the response we received was, the gym floor is heated, which we don't understand why the gym floor would be heated, and then you put a wood floor on top of that. On the committee, we actually have 3 individuals, myself included, that have experience with gymnasium floors. So, in another charging document that was sent, we recommend that people from our committee can, help with OP in the process. We're actually meeting with a gymnasium floor company to look at the floor, just kind of give us a little assessment. This company has done local floors in the Worcester Prep area. We had given that name.
Sure that I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm 100% sure that operations is on this. We talk about this, and there's some insurance issues as to whether or not it's going to be an insurance claim. A lot of those boards, when they dried out, they straightened back out again. Some of them are still warped, but they're making the decision of how they're going to go forward. They may be, and I don't quote me, they may be disconnecting the radiant floor heating and installing other heaters in the building, or HVAC systems to keep it. But That's currently under operations review, and it is happening.
I'm sure it is because we had
But but Becky, that's crossing the line having your own floor inspector come in.
we're not having a floor inspector coming in. We're having a floor guy come in and kind of just give us. So when we submit something to the board, we have what exactly needs to be our recommendation of what needs to be, what's best for the gymnasium floor. There's so many more new floors out these days. Like that one was put in 7 years ago.
Oh,
And there's so many different floors, multi-purpose floors, because the gym floor there is used in so many different capacities.
Yeah.
They're just, let me just share, on Saturday, we're approving one of two, two or three suppliers have already come in and give us.
This is an operational.
This is not a pitching thing. This is not something that's a anything.
It's already. I think we're approving. So it's one that does.
Gets for
We had
It's on the agenda.
we had submitted several charging documents prior to the leak about the floor and the gaps in the floor
That's
and
all going to be
all
corrected.
stuff like that. So this was prior to the leak happening.
Okay.
And and then when the leak happened, I had mentioned to Debbie that we were having a floor guy come in, just kind of look at what's going on with the floor and kind of make some suggestions of what he thought would be the best type of floor to use.
I know that we have this in our packet for this week
Okay.
and a staff recommendation of which way they want to go with this.
Okay.
So that's
I'm just saying, as a committee, there's people on the committee who have experience with gymnasium floors. So, we would like to give, our input or we would like to be involved, or we could be part of, or give our recommendation.
I hear you, but I'm going to be straight with you.
Uh-huh.
That's not going to happen.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, though.
Uh-huh.
But the other things we've taken action on, a lot of the stuff we've taken.
Oh, yes, you have. And then, other things that are been on our charging documents or annual reports for years is also recommendations for improvement to Bainbridge Park, including updating the playground with a safety fence, more benches, picnic areas, shade trees, and a fountain in the pond to help circulate the water. This would be a great asset to the community. That's one of the parks that has seemed to.
But they also just did that whole big retention there. They
did a couple years ago.
Yeah.
There's not a fountain in the middle though. If you go in there in some of those months, the warm months, and all the moss and stuff is kind of and I know they have a nice little fishing pier or dock there, but you really I mean, like they do in the north and the North Ponds, they have the fountains just to kind of circulate the water.
Aerate it.
But the playground there also is outdated. It's old. It's a nice area. It's a big, nice flat area. It has a good sized little parking lot in there. It would be another nice little asset to upgrade that. So over the course of the year, we've submitted 15 charging documents to the board, so they're probably tired of hearing from us. And like you said, most were responded. We had several that were denied, and that was fine too. And some we're still waiting for responses. So,
Listen,
Yeah.
when you guys do your walks around the park,
yes.
when you go to Whitehorse Park,
Mhm.
and I don't know if this is something you guys would recommend or if it's strictly Public Works, but when we were getting ready to hold last year's kickoff, I was walking around trying to figure out where things were going to go. There are so many tree stumps and roots that are tripping hazards. And with all the kids and everybody that are constantly in that area, has your committee ever made a recommendation that those stumps and all of that be cleared out?
Well, it depends on where you're talking. Like we'll talk like if on the trail, if they're on the trails, then that's what we focus on. On the other, I guess the other area.
The forested area.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I'm talking about the main central area in White Horse Park. Farmers market, every place else. There are stumps and tripping hazards all over the place. And
well, and then, I mean, in that general area, that's just what that park is, but like if we'll go and take pictures of the trails, and if there's stumps or roots or something, we would recommend or ask to put more of that crushed gravel or clear out those stump areas. But that general, like where the farmers market is and stuff, I mean, basically you're tilling that whole area. I mean, that whole area is just stumps, and that's just what that park is. Now we did go around and I know there was trees that were marked, or we'll take pictures of, we think trees, like it's got a hollow down at the bottom or looks like it's rotting. Those are the kind of things that we would put in our charging document to look at.
okay.
Because we don't know how often Public Works does that. And so we're trying to help out just so they know, or if there's a tree falling down or something like that, that's what we report back.
Yeah. And any other questions for Becky?
Okay.
And last but not least, Robert, strategic planning.
Well, for those of you who have forgotten who I am since introductions a while ago, I am Rob. And I'm going to be very brief because strategic planning is, as the name implies, is strategic. We don't deal with the day-to-day kind of tactical stuff that Frank deals with at the golf course or the aquatics and whatnot. So our focus over the last few months since I took over. Actually, let me start with going over the personnel. Just a couple of changes. Helen Johnson's term just expired in March, and so she did not renew. She'd been on the committee for 2 terms, so she resigned. And then we just recently added Terry O'Doherty. So we've got a pretty good complement of folks. And our focus has been on putting together what we feel is important to do on a periodic basis every 3 to 5 years, the community-wide survey. And I know a lot of people around this table, both committee folks, staff, board, have been very supportive of us in that effort. So I thank you, publicly in this forum. We got the results back early this year. We spent the last couple meetings dissecting and compiling. And actually, I will be giving a presentation on Saturday morning at the board meeting with a summary of our results. And from there, our next step is going to be to kind of deep dive into the opportunities and the challenges that we've uncovered to deliver intel to the board for potential impact and potential projects, solutions, whatever you want to call it. As I've listened to each of you this evening, some of the comments you've made in specific your committees were things that came out in our survey. So you will be hearing from me in our committee so we can collaborate. We've heard that comment a few times this evening. I think that's certainly important. And therefore, I think it'll be a benefit to the board if we can kind of consolidate our efforts to deliver a consistent message, to the board for what we're looking to help make this community even better than it already is. We'll also probably be doing some benchmarking with other quote unquote resort communities. Seeing, hey, maybe they faced these same challenges, faced these same opportunities, and what have they done? And maybe we can get some best practices there. So that's going to be our focus over the next few months. And again, I'm going to be brief. That's all I got, but certainly answer any questions if anybody has any.
Ask a lot of questions.
Anybody have something for Robert? And okay, listen.
Terps are down by 10 with 8 minutes to go.
Well, and before we adjourn and go there, we have an open discussion. Anybody have any points? Doug, I know you do.
I have a couple. Number one, I failed to mention during my report that there are openings on the Budget and Finance Committee. If you know of anybody that might have an interest that has some kind of financial background, please encourage them to look into volunteering and adding their services to the committee. Number two, if you look at Resolution C01 out on the website, it is the correct version that was approved at the board meeting. I think it was April 20th of 24. except, and I have a visual cue here, if you look at what's posted on the website, there's a real big note in red. It says, note, insert charging document here. Okay. That's what's on the website. So I would ask, whoever, Linda, the board, please put the charging document in here because, it looks a little bit, unprofessional. But again, I checked the verbiage with what was in the board packet that was on, April 20th of last year, and what's out there, and it's the correct version. It's just missing this. And also, along with C01, make aware of the attachment 3, which is the committee application process. Okay, I was asked to author that back then, and we put it together. It's got a very step-by-step detail, and it prevents us from running a couple of situations where we had committee members that, quite frankly, didn't qualify because we didn't go through this step-by-step process. So it clarifies it. Just make yourself aware of it when you're looking at adding members to your committee, because it has the board has responsibility, admin has responsibility, committee chair has responsibility. And then last but not least, to your point about the orientation, a year and a half ago, Josh put out what was it called? Committee protocols and helpful information. It's out on the website.
Yeah, it's
right. You open that up, and it's okay. It's pretty good. There's he asked me about 8 months ago, and I sent it to all the board members. He asked about 8 months ago to take a look at it. There's some things that need to be updated, but they can't just be updated because it has to do with things like, is the a Teams meeting optional? And I think we have to decide as a group. It's not a bylaw or anything like that, but it's an operational aspect of the association. The idea would be, do we make sure that every committee meeting, has a virtual concept to it so that anybody can, I think that's a good idea. Number 2, we have to talk about recording all of them, and number 3, so that it's, and then also make it mandatory. It's not optional. The committee chair can't say, oh, by the way, we're not going to record this meeting, or we're not going to have it, so in other words, we have to agree that that's the way we want to do it. Then we can update that, because that's a nice, feature to understand what the committee chairs will look at and say, hey, if I want to run a meeting, I got to do this, and this. Linda and Michelle are absolute great assets to have. They'll always be available to help you out. But I think that, Pat, to your point, where do you go? I'm a new committee chair. Where do I start? Start there. But I would offer, and I'll take on the responsibility to update it if you think it's worthwhile. I think it's worthwhile at the end of the day, so that new committee members, new committee chairs have an idea of where they need to go to get things started. So I just offer that for the board for consideration. If you give me the go ahead, I'll take the effort on that and do what we can do.
And speaking for the entire board,
It's a great idea.
thank you.
thank you. Yeah, Gary.
Yeah. This meeting is primarily to go over what each committee did over the past year. We've all talked about how nice it would be to have some more communication among the committees. And I know that we can do that individually, but I think if the executive council got together 2 or 3 times a year, it would promote more interaction between each of the committees. So I would just throw that out as a suggestion that maybe this group could get together more often than just once a year.
Okay.
And once a quarter. I made that suggestion good. Well, I became a chat either.
That's a good idea, Gary. Any other discussion items?
I have one more
Yeah, of course you do.
comment. Just one more
Go ahead.
comment. The last word.
The last word.
Love to have Bocce demonstration at the kickoff. And please, all of you, think about coming to the kickoff and make sure you register, please.
It's so much better this year because last year Gary was convinced we were going to have a dunking booth and put the board members in it. We're not even thinking about that this year. So you can just come to the event.
I'd do that. I would do that.
I know.
Why aren't we talking about?
I would do that. Come on, you can't hit that target.
Insurance, although I think somebody up there. No, it was just. Yeah, the insurance wouldn't have prevented, but it would have been fun.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
The 2 things that getting ready for the summer season, we have a trail that to me is not being utilized 100%. If you go up to Antelope Park up in Delaware, I mean, that is beautiful, man. They have it's used for bike riding, jogging, walking. It's really used. The thing that when you drive through Ocean Pines, you see people, mothers with babies and carriages. You see, people trying to jog, and people riding bicycles next to each other, which puts them close to the cars. And I'd like to see all that taken off of the road and put onto these 2 miles of trails that we have.
So I would have to somehow transport my bicycle somewhere to ride my bike.
Not necessarily. I mean,
No fighting.
I'm just saying, I know how to use my kayak because I don't have a car now to take my kayak over and put it in the water. So
Well,
then
people-
that would limit my ability to
Well,
ride my bike.
People put their bikes on the car and they drive up to Delaware to access Antelope.
I don't have the equipment to do that. Next.
Well,
I'm just saying, then if
okay.
that's just one thought.
Do you jog?
I no longer jog as a woman.
Then you can't use it. Okay. Then the other thing is, at the yacht club.
Yeah.
A lot of visitors are coming into town in the summertime. It's a revenue sink generated. Absolutely. Dog walks. That place is like the dog park.
I know.
But I'm not a fan.
I'm not a fan of that. It's too loud.
I love dogs, but people, that's where I got the problem. No, seriously, there's waste, I think, on walkways, and if that's the best that what you want to put forward with guests going down, then fine. But I don't find it acceptable.
A lot of people have.
I agree with you on that one.
Yeah. I think dog
Let me get you a bike rack.
There is a bike rack there at the yacht.
No, she means for.
No,
Give my bike to the park.
I got to sorry.
Anything else for the good of Ocean Pines? I have a motion to adjourn our meeting.
I move.
Second. Any abstentions? All in favor?
Third.
Jerry.